learn about the number one reason why you're stuck writing the dissertation, and it's definitely not what you think. So, on this episode of Done Dissertation Office Hours, we're going to dig deep and really get at the core of why things may not be going according to your desired plan. And I want to say first, thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of Done Dissertation Office Hours. I'm Dr. Ramon Goings, founder of Done Dissertation, where we demystify the dissertation process so that doctoral students can write and defend their dissertation in 1 year or less. This episode of Done Dissertation Office Hours is sponsored by the Design Your Done Dissertation. It is our 5-hour workshop happening on Sunday, December 11th. We're going to help you design a dissertation completion plan so that you can finish out 2022 and go into 2023 with the confidence and a plan that you can execute to finish your dissertation. If you're interested in learning more about this event, you can go to www.designyourdissertation.com. And so for today's video, I want to get into the number one reason why you're stuck in the process. And I know for many of you all, you probably think, if you had to summarize it, when I hear from students about why they're stuck, it often comes around, you often talk about things that are very tangible, and particularly about academic writing. So for a lot of you all, you may say, hey, I haven't experienced the success I want with this process because I'm a struggling academic writer. But in this video, I actually want to talk to you about really the number one reason why you're actually stuck, and it doesn't have anything to do with writing. Here's what it has to do with. And the one word that you need to think through and think about is confidence. Without a doubt, when I've worked with doctoral students across the world, one thing that has been quite common amongst why folks have been stuck in this journey is not about academic skill set, because at the end of the day, that can be taught. But a lot of times, what a lot of folks get stuck in this process is because of confidence. And you all might be saying, well, how does that show up? And how does that maybe look for me? And, I don't have a confidence problem. And here's like 3 ways in particular that I see it show up for students. And then I want to talk about some solutions and how to overcome this. But first things first, if you all, if you can, drop who you are in the comments, share us out with somebody who needs this message, needs the support. Again, we're going to talk about all things confidence, as we see that as the number one reason why folks have been stuck in the dissertation process for far too long. And so the first thing I want to talk about when we think through confidence in the dissertation process, right? The first thing you got to consider is that you probably, if you lack confidence, oftentimes, again, it's not about the skill set. The reason why you might lack the confidence, a lot of you all just don't have a plan to go into this process. So what ends up happening is that you had a structure, you had an outline, you had a format as you went through your coursework. And then all of a sudden that structure went away when you got to the dissertation process, and you didn't have the plan in place to say, hey, how can I put those same kind of structures in place so that I can continue moving forward? Because I hear from a lot of folks who often say to us, hey, you know what, I did well in my coursework, I got straight A's, but all of a sudden I get to the dissertation and I can't figure things out. And it's not because you all are extremely brilliant, because you all are brilliant. You got to this point in this process, you didn't just get to where you are by happenstance. But a lot of times when you lack confidence, it's because of this plan. You don't have a plan in place. And it gets really hard. And then what ends up happening is that the process starts to feel very overwhelming. And then what a lot of you may start to do, and I see this, and I saw this as part of my own journey as well, is that instead of just taking a step to pause and figure out a plan, what you do is that you just rather work through the confusion. And so what it ends up happening for a lot of folks is, like, your dissertation is all over the place, but you rather just keep writing, keep moving this thing forward, because you're hoping that you can piece it apart and give it to your chair and they're going to accept it. But deep down, confidently, like, hey, I didn't have a plan to really think through this chapter. And the reason why we like to catch a lot of this stuff early on in your process, because what I don't want you to do is have done all this writing and not get through your committee, let's say for proposal defense. But then even if you do and you start collecting data, if you conceptualize a study incorrectly, or you just had a bad design, when you get your data thinking that you're going to be done, you start to realize that, oh my God, I didn't have the data that I thought I would. And so a lot of times with this confidence piece, it's all about having a plan first things first. That's why at Design Your Done Dissertation, we are going to focus essentially on designing the plan, because we know for our students that are successful getting through this process, having a plan is the foundation of success. But that's step one. You got to have it. But I see this show up for a lot of folks. And the analogy I would give to this, right? It's like driving a car, and you're driving your car, and of course you know how to drive, but all over the windshield is mud. And in this particular case, your wipers aren't working. They won't even pop out to get rid of the mud, but you continue to drive anyway because you say, I got to get to this particular destination. But what you realize is that the mud is obstructing your view. You can't even see where you're going. You think you know where you're going, and you're driving because you can. But a lot of you all are doing this, and then what ends up happening in this car situation, you end up going off the road or going on the wrong side of traffic because you can't see. Had you just taken a step back, taken a second to say, hey, what can I do to make sure I can see the journey ahead? Oh, let me step out of the car, let me wipe this blood off so at least I can see the path forward. And that's a lot of what we're going to be doing with you all at Design Your Dissertation, is helping you develop a plan so that you can see your way forward. A lot of you all have been trying to work through this. You have been trying to drive through the mud, if you will, and it hasn't worked for you all, and you all have been stuck. And it's very frustrating. And I know it is because I've been there, especially when I first started my doctoral program and my professor told me that I wasn't a strong academic writer and that I needed a writing coach. I had two choices. Either I could give in and just say, you know what, they're exactly right, and just whatever, just throw in the towel, or I can come up with a plan to improve. And so that's what I chose to do. I said, all right, I'm going to take a step back. I know I need some work. I know I need to figure this out. Let me step back. And first part of my plan was to do some reading because I needed to read more in order to become a better writer. So that became part of the journey. And for a lot of you all, that is a piece. Sometimes we don't take a step back to create our plan. And this is what we want to do with you all at Design Your Dissertation, happening on December 11th. If you want to learn more about the event, most certainly go to www.designyourdissertation.com. Because again, we want to help you all secure and put your plan together because it's really important. Once you do that, right? And so, a lot of folks, around when we talk about confidence, first things first, you don't have a plan. So it's hard to be confident when you don't have a plan about what you're doing necessarily. Or at least a little inkling of like the first step, or willing to like take a step and kind of evaluate what's happening. But what a lot of y'all do is just stay stagnant. And so when you don't have a plan, it obstructs you and it impacts your confidence. But then second, when you don't have confidence, you do not defend your work and you're not willing to defend your work. And this is the part that really will frustrate you and really will get in your way of succeeding in this process. Here's why: because when you don't have the confidence, right, and you don't feel strong in your work, what will happen is that when your professors ask you something or they give you a suggestion, when they give you the feedback, you immediately say they were right without really evaluating what they said and then actually thinking through like, oh, actually, they were wrong with this. Here's how I would address this. It takes a level of confidence to do that. And I see a lot of folks stuck with their writing because they lack the confidence. And when we peel back the layer, confidence starts with actually knowing the literature in your area. That is something that I don't care where you are, what doctoral program, I don't care if it's my folks in chemistry, to folks in American studies, to engineering, to education. I don't care what doctoral program you are in. If you don't know the literature that you are in, you are at a serious disadvantage. And so it is very hard to get through this process. And I would say practically impossible if you don't know the literature. That is like the step that you have to do, but it helps you to build your confidence, because then you can go to your professors with confidence and say, you know what, having read this work, this is my rationale for doing A, B, C, and D. And that's the key. But that takes a lot of confidence, because if you don't have that confidence right now, a lot of y'all will just let professors tell you what to do. And then when they tell you what to do, you look up and the dissertation that you started to write ends up not becoming the one that you finished with. And you're just wondering what happened. It's almost like it morphed right in front of your eyes. It was only because you weren't willing to stand up for the work that you have. But in order to stand up for yourself as a doc student, you have to really know the literature in this area. Hi, Delicia. Hi, Delicia. How you doing? And so this is really important, y'all. So make sure that you got to think through, because the number one reason why I see folks stuck is around confidence. And you'll just, again, let your chair dictate. They'll push you in one direction, say, yes, I'll do that. And then when they come up with the idea like, oh, actually what I told you the first time wasn't right, go back to what you originally did. You say, oh my God, you get frustrated, but you'll do what they say. And you'll be, one of our clients described it as the ping pong. And they described with their first experience in a doc program when they were younger. And some years ago, they said that when they got in the doc program, they felt it was a ping pong happening between their chair and committee. And a lot of y'all will get stuck in the ping pong because you're not confident enough to step up and really like say, hey, this is what I plan to do, and this is how I plan to do it. So again, if this is helpful, again, I want you all to start thinking about this, because part of our work, we will work with you all at Design Your Dissertation. Our first hour of the session of the workshop will be dedicated to the done dissertation mindset, because without having the right mindset, this process can be very daunting. And we want to make sure that you all have that. So we're going to spend some time really helping you to develop and think through what that is, because once you make the mindset shift, it's on from there. Like you recognize and you're willing to say like nothing will stop, me along this journey. But a lot of y'all haven't been willing to make that step quite yet to say, I'm going to change my mindset and do something quite differently. And thank you, Carrie, for dropping the link in there. I'll pin it. And so again, for those of you all who need the support, need the help, grab your tickets, because y'all gonna hit me up, and hit us up after the 11th. Talk about, is there a replay? Like, there's no access to the replay this time around unless you have a ticket to the event. Those folks will have a limited time access to the replay, but everyone else, you will not be able to purchase it, because there's something about being in the room and something about being with us and being in community that is really impactful along the journey. So definitely grab your ticket, www.designyourdissertation.com. If you're on Instagram, you just click the link in our bio. You can grab your ticket from there. So, the first part we talked about is that you lack confidence because you don't have a plan. Secondly, is that when you lack confidence, that you're not willing to stand up for yourself and push back and really challenge your professors and give rationales. Like, without being confident, you won't do that. And then what ends up happening, what's even the worst, is that when you lack confidence, you will either be paralyzed by it. So what will end up happening is that you won't do anything and you'll just kind of just flounder around. And then, it was Monday and then you turn up and then it was Thursday. You had got nothing done. So for some folks, the lack of confidence will paralyze you and you feel like you can't do anything because you just don't feel confident that you have the ability to do it. Or for my other folks, it will make you overthink everything with the process. It will make you overthink every piece of feedback that you get. It will make you overthink every word. And then what ends up happening when you go to sit down and write, you keep writing. And then what you recognize is that my writing's terrible. You start giving yourself these types of thoughts and like you're not encouraging yourself. And then because you have these negative thoughts about writing, it makes it more difficult to come back to the writing the next day. And I know this for a lot of folks, we experience with a lot of our clients when they first start working with us. And part of what we do in our velocity coaching program is help you all develop a very different mindset, because in order to finish the process quickly, like how we train our clients to do, you got to have a completely different mindset than what you did walking into our program. We always say that this program will definitely change you, because then once you learn the mindset, you can apply it to everything else in life. So the lessons and the ROI on this is not just about the dissertation, it's about life after and how to apply this moving forward. But it all starts, the foundation of all these things when we talk about confidence is having a plan in place. When you have a plan, at least the start of a plan, you have some way to execute. And a lot of you all, because this process has so many small pieces, either you become very overwhelmed by the minutia of it all, or you just look at very broad strokes and just say, oh, I need to write my dissertation proposal. And then you put some arbitrary deadline, not recognizing that you don't write that fast, and that the 2 weeks that you said you'll have it done, you won't, just because you have other life things that are going to get in the way. But those who are mindful, those who are really thinking through this process, those who have a plan, will have thought through and will have created a roadmap for themselves to get through, and know that there will be inherent challenges in this process because you know who you are and you have accounted for them. So at our event, Design Your Dissertation, we're going to help you really unpack all of those things and really develop this plan so that you can get through quickly. Again, I wanted this episode to be fairly short because I really think for a lot of you all, you've heard a lot of the strategy we've given. Now it's time for you all to take some action and take aim, because one thing that we do know for certain, if you don't, you can have the greatest plan in the world, but if you don't execute, the plan is for nothing. Like, this is 100% the truth about this process. And a lot of you all may have recognized it by now, but if you don't have a plan, and then if you don't decide to execute the plan, you'll just be ABD again, and it will be back December of 2023 having the same conversation. And I don't want to see that for you all. Our goal is to help you all get out. Like, if you're working on your dissertation right now, there should be no reason at some point in 2023 that you should be defending your entire dissertation at some point in 2023, pending you being in the field a very long time doing data collection or something like that. Outside of a constraint of your data collection process, there is no reason why going into 2023 that your dissertation should not be done if you are writing it right now in late December of 2022. And this is what we want to help you do. We want to help springboard you so that you can finish this process quickly. And that's what we're going to do at Design Your Dissertation. So if you want to come to the event, make sure you grab your ticket. This will be the last time we're going to run this event. We're going to start doing other workshops for you all on various topics. And if you have any ideas or suggestions of topics that you're interested in, you can shoot us a DM wherever you can find us. We'll be happy to take whatever suggestions you all may have as we are designing our workshop series for 2023. But you need to grab your ticket. It's going to be a great time. You're going to be surprised about how fast 5 hours goes, because we make it engaging, definitely breaks interaction. Like, we'll make sure that it's all a great vibe. Like, I'm all for a great vibe, and I want you all to learn. It'll be very different than any type of webinar or workshop that you have attended before. So this is not the same, boring stuff that we see sometimes when we go to these webinars and things like that. Like, no, you're going to be able to ask the questions that you need answered, interact with folks, and be in community with people who are like-minded or doing the same things that you want to do. You're going to be able to have some coaching opportunities for myself and Dr. Varela, who's one of our coaches at Done Dissertation, as well as hear from our current and former clients about their experiences working with us and how them having a dissertation plan in place helped them speed through the process. And so you definitely got to come. You definitely need to get your ticket to Design Your Done Dissertation. You can visit the link, www.designyourdissertation.com. And real quick, before I jump off, if there are any questions, let me know in the comments. But if not, I want to give a shout out to one of our clients who is defending their dissertation tomorrow. I want to say best of luck to you. And I know you asked me for a word of wisdom with your dissertation defense. And I just will tell you that you already know what you need to know for your subject. Now is the time to have a conversation with colleagues. You're about to enter being friends with these folks and people who have helped guided you, but now you are about to be amongst them as a colleague. So approach this defense as such. Don't approach as a student, approach it as a scholar who is talking with a group of friends about a topic that you all are passionate about. And then lastly, whatever topic, whatever question that you get during the Q&A, as much as you can, tie it back to your data, because no one can challenge you on your data because you are the expert on the data. And then what will happen in your defense, which I plan to see tomorrow, I'm going to join, is that you will start to get questions more and more about what do you plan to do with this post-defense? That's exactly where you want your final defense to be. So I'm so proud of you. We will definitely shout you out once it is confirmed that you have successfully defended. But I did want to give you that word of suggestion as you asked via text message. So I wanted to put that in video for you so you have it somewhere else as well. But this is a great time. I love when our clients get to this phase. We love to go to defenses. We love to see folks succeed. And this is what we want for you all. At the core of what we do at Done Dissertation, we want you all to win. We want you all to get out of these doctoral programs so that you can use your research to transform the people, organizations, and communities you care most about. But you cannot do that ABD. We need you all to get these doctorates so that you have the prestige and the clout that you need in your fields to really set yourselves up for success. And we want that for you. And the first part of that is having a dissertation completion plan. So what I want you to do is visit www.designyourdissertation.com to grab your ticket. And with that, I'm going to make sure that there are no questions or comments. But thank you all for jumping on and tuning in today. For those who have been tuning in, if you are just coming on late, share this with a friend who needs some help. Share this on your timeline, share it in the DM, somewhere with someone else who can get some support. Definitely can get access to it, because we want to make sure that you're not stuck through this process any longer. And Calm Brew on Instagram, it's good to see you. If you have any questions about, if you're a doc student, have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments, or if you want to pop on, you can do so as well. I'm just checking all the various chats just to make sure there's no questions. All right, I don't see questions. Well, it will be a quick night tonight. I'm just super happy for you all that you all have been persisting, moving forward through this process. But if you found that you have just really been stuck in this thing, don't try to do this alone. You'll just spin around in circles and get a headache and be frustrated with yourself more than anything. And then those negative thoughts will really impact your process. Shout out to Dr. Varela. What's going on? So one of our coaches is on Instagram. Good to see you. So make sure that you all jump on, come to our event on Sunday, December 11th. Design Your Dissertation from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. You can grab your ticket at designyourdissertation.com. On Instagram, you can click the link in our bio to grab your ticket. And if that's all, I don't see any questions, I will holler and talk to you all sometime next week. You'll all be hearing about the event after the fact. So if you want to be there, don't be be on the outside looking in. Like, come on in and definitely get the support that you need. And I will see you all next week. I hope you all have a blessed week. Take care.